Jack was pumping up a flat on the truck out on a back road when the tire blew up. The rim of the tire slammed into his face, broke his nose and jaw, and knocked him unconscious on his back. By the time somebody come along, he'd drowned in his own blood. He was only 39 years old. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Was he buried down there?
He put a stone up. He was cremated like he wanted. Half his ashes was interred here. The rest I sent up with his folks. He used to say he wanted his ashes scattered on Brokeback Mountain, but I wasn't sure where that was. I thought Brokeback Mountain might be around where he grew up. Knowing Jack, it might be some pretend place where bluebirds sing and there's a whiskey spring.
Carolina delivered swift verdicts of guilty to Alec Murdaugh on charges he murdered his wife and son. Murdaugh's case has inspired a popular Netflix series, podcasts, and books, and his dramatic testimony on the stand during the last days of the trial captivated live television audiences. This morning, even as he sits in prison for the rest of his life, Murdaugh faces open legal questions in other strange cases surrounding him and his family. NBC's Katie Beck has been covering the Murdaugh story from the beginning. She has our Sunday focus.
Alec Murdaugh knows this courtroom well. As an accomplished lawyer, he argued cases here. But this time, it was his fate in the hands of a jury.
Guilty?
Guilty of murdering his wife Maggie and youngest son Paul on the family's sprawling hunting estate.
I know you have to see Paul and Maggie during the night times when you're attempting to go to sleep.
All day and every night.
It was a phone call on the night of June 7th, 2021, that changed everything for the legal powerhouse. Maggie and Paul Murdaugh gunned down at the family's dog kennels. After months of speculation and denials, even a botched suicide attempt, Alec Murdaugh was charged with 2 counts of murder in July of 2022. He said he wasn't there when it happened in an interview with investigators the night of the murders.
I pulled up and I could see him. I ran out. I knew it was really bad. My boy over there, I could see it was.
But that story fell apart at trial when prosecutors revealed a Snapchat video from Paul that proved Alec was at the murder scene moments before the killings. Murdaugh professed his innocence when he took the stand in his own defense, but admitted to a string of financial crimes and lying to investigators about his whereabouts the night of the murders, blaming it all on an opioid addiction.
What a tangled web we weave.
The jury spent less than 3 hours behind closed doors before rendering their verdict. While this case is over, many others remain, raising questions about mysteries surrounding the Murdaugh family. Those incidents, now the subject of a new Netflix documentary, include the death of Murdaugh's longtime housekeeper in 2018 after a fall at the family's home. Alec Murdaugh still faces state charges for allegedly stealing a multi-million-dollar insurance payout meant for the housekeeper's sons. He's already admitted to doing it in a civil suit.
Did he, though, ever pay you 1 cent?
No.
The documentary also highlights the death of Buster Murdoch's high school classmate, Stephen Smith,
is now intertwined with the Murdoch,
who was found dead in the middle of the road back in 2015, not far from the Murdoch home, described at the time as a hit and run. Smith's mother alleging his death was no accident.
When they told me hit and run, I said that's impossible because Stephen wouldn't have been walking in the road to start with. He would have cut through the woods.
South Carolina law enforcement officials have reopened both cases as part of their wider investigation into Alec Murdoch.
You all know Alec Murdoch? That's his son.
These developments come as a wrongful death lawsuit continues to work its way through the court system, alleging Paul Murdoch was responsible for a 2019 boat crash that killed 19-year-old Mallory Beach. He had pleaded not guilty to the criminal charges before his death. According to prosecutors, it was because of that crash that Alec Murdoch's deceit began to unravel, putting him on a murderous course that ended in a guilty verdict on Friday.
And Katie joins me now live. Katie, good morning. It's good to see you. Millions of people just came to this case a couple of weeks ago when Murdoch took the stand. But as I mentioned, you've been covering it for a year and a half. So what were your thoughts when those guilty verdicts were read in court last week?
Well, I think what was most striking, Willie, was the absolute lack of emotion we saw from Alec Murdoch in those moments. It was though he had completely resigned already that this was going to be his fate. This was someone that we had seen cry on the witness stand, cry from the defense table, and express so much emotion at every description, every graphic description of his son in court. To have this pivotal climactic moment happen after 6 weeks and have no real expression of anything was stunning. I think, we heard from witness testimony that he was theatrical, that he had this gift of gab and that he could persuade juries. You wondered at that point in time, was that all authentic or was there some kind of performance going on in this courtroom for the past 6 weeks? The other thing that struck me was when the judge in sentencing mentioned the fact that Murdoch was by all means a nice person, that his family was a nice family, that this was so disappointing to the community. And it reminded me of an indictment hearing I covered where I noticed the bailiffs in the courtroom were tearing up. And later I asked them about that, and they said, we really, really respect Alec Murdoch. We think he's a great lawyer and a great friend, and he's always been kind to us. So, the gravity of disappointment in that community. We say the words prominent, we say the words prestigious, but another word I would add would be respected. This was somebody that they looked up to and that, frankly, was friendly and had long-standing ties. So that's this whole other sort of side of this story, that this community is really maybe accepting this as the right decision, but grieving who they thought this person was. Willie?
It's all so fascinating, and now he's in prison for the rest of his life. Katie back in South Carolina. Katie, thanks so much. We appreciate it.